major defeat for President Donald Trump as one of his campaign promises to replace Obamacare collapses right in front of him. The GOP's American Health Care Act was pulled from the House floor before it went to a vote Friday. President Trump ordered House Speaker Paul Ryan to pull the plug on the vote for a replacement proposal. The last-minute decision to cancel came after Speaker Ryan informed the president that they couldn't secure enough votes to repeal it. That means that Obamacare remains the law of the land for now. But don't think that will stop President Trump. Vice President Mike Pence says the fight against Obamacare will continue and the administration will, quote, give the American people the world-class health care that they deserve. With this defeat, what's next for Republicans, and can they still find another way to replace Obamacare? That's our topic this half hour. We want to hear from you on our Fox 26 Facebook page, where we've posted our topics that our panel is talking about today. And on Twitter, just send me a tweet at Sally Mack, Fox 26. Joining us is our senior legal analyst, Chris Tritico. We also have Democratic media consultant Mustafa Tamiz and Republican strategist and public policy analyst Jackie Bally. Good morning.
Good morning.
The president blaming Democrats for this, House Speaker Ryan blaming Republicans for this.
And House Speaker Ryan is correct. The Republicans spent 7 years filing nothing but bills to repeal this law, saying that they had a better way, and didn't start thinking about that better way until January of 2017, and never built a coalition among Republicans to pass that bill, and never worked with Democrats to work on their, quote, better way, unquote, Mustafa Tamiz. And they knew going in that they had that the Republicans were fractured on this, and they didn't work. It never reached out to Democrats. This is not the Democrats' fault.
Now, who would have thought that the art of the deal was built of house of cards? President Trump didn't write the book. It was written by a ghostwriter. He claimed that he could cut this deal when he couldn't even bring Republicans together on something because he's willfully unprepared. He didn't know what he was pushing for. Instead, he was threatening House members, and that never works. But at the end of the day, the lie about Obamacare that it's collapsing is a lie, but Democrats have to do a better job in shoring up the bill where it needs to be so that more Americans can be covered.
President Trump said on the campaign that he would repeal and replace Obamacare on day one. Now, he said after this collapsed and they pulled it, he said, I never said I would do it on day 64 or whatever day 65. It was. 65. He said, I never said I would do it on day 65, which is correct. He said he would do it on day one. All that being said, the real problem is what he's saying now is, I will let this law collapse and wait for Democrats to come to me. The problem with that, as I see it, Jackie Bally, is that while he's doing that, there are people suffering.
I agree with almost everything you said in your intro, and definitely everything you just said right now. The blame lays at the feet of Paul Ryan, because he's the one who said, I've got the votes, and guess what? He pulled it because he didn't have the votes. And you said earlier, and I agree with this, we as in the Republican Party, have brought up so many bills as far as replacement of Obamacare. And it's not that there's not one plan, there are too many plans. So you have three different factions that our president has to somehow have a coalition of. You have the conservatives in my party, you have the establishment in my party, and then you have the Democrats. So now our president is saying he's going to try to form a coalition with moderate Democrats, but we all know that from day one, Democrats have been at war with our president, and even if it is for the benefit of our country, that coalition is not going to happen. We are seeing people who elected our president because they are suffering under the current health care plan, but until something is proposed, they're going to continue to suffer.
Real quick.
I don't know. I want to defend Paul Ryan here. Look, he's the only grown-up in this. He went out there and took responsibility. He said that we don't know how to govern. I mean, he said it. This is not me. He said we don't know how to govern. We just know how to be the anti-party. And this is worth noting.
All right, we'll come back to that in just a minute. Let me go to Sally. She's monitoring our social media.
Okay, let's take a look at Facebook right now and see some of the comments there. Toward the bottom, you see Ben. He says, I'm upset they took the coward way out and didn't put it to a vote. I want to know who stands where. I think most Americans would like to see it too. It would make the midterm elections much easier to decide. Lynette says, insurance companies are the only winners, not the people. Katie says, let's move on to tax reform. Maybe they need a little time to work on this health care mess. And then Gloria says, I don't know why you all blame Paul Ryan on this. It's up to each of us to call our congressman and let us know where we stand and what we want so that prices will go down.
Well, Katie, let me answer Katie. The problem with moving on to tax reform is they needed to undo Obamacare and the taxes in Obamacare to move to tax reform because they needed those taxes.
Well, the reason why Katie is saying that is because clearly there's not a coalition, there is not a consensus with health care. And so there are other measures that our president did campaign on. There are other measures that our president needs to work on. And everyone is saying, let's move on, try to work on those measures, because clearly there is not going to be a compromise. And for us to be staled or to stay over this one issue currently, that's not going to happen.
If he can't pass this, he can't pass tax reform.
No, because if he tries to pass tax reform, the deficit will grow, and the same coalition that came out against him will come after this. The reality is that when you base your entire campaign and your political ideology on lies, you know, eventually the roosters kind of come home to
well, whether it was a lie, I don't know if it was a lie, they just didn't have a plan. And without a plan that you can get through your own Congress, you can't get it.
You can't have a plan when you start with, I'm going to do something that's cheaper and better. When you start with that thesis, it doesn't work.
All of the voters in Midwest, in the Midwestern states and the heart of our country who voted for President Trump, those are typical voters who've always voted Democrat. They voted for President Trump.
A guy who lied to them.
They voted for President Trump because he spoke the truth on Obamacare. Obamacare premiums have increased significantly. It's been very difficult for those.
It's very difficult. Hang on, we got to go. But
that's
let me ask,
not a lie.
Okay, we got to go. But let me ask you this: They voted for Donald Trump, expecting to have a plan that we now know they didn't have. Do you agree with that?
In day 65, the plan has not been approved. Let's see what happens by year 4.
All right, we got to go right now. We're going to leave it right there. Join us right now on Facebook Live, because I think we can probably continue this discussion a little bit longer, and we'll be back in about 20 minutes with another really good topic.
Go interact with our panel there now, right there at the top of our Fox 26 Facebook page.